Hello, my loves. Hope you're doing well on the other side of the 3-3 portal and the eclipse energy. I did have a little mix up and I called it the solar eclipse, although it was a lunar eclipse. And it's interesting because that last video did talked about lifting illusion and confusion. And there's like a perfect example of how some of that was up in the collective energies. I don't know. I'm curious how you guys have been. It's interesting. I saw somewhere last night that it said this specific eclipse is going to hit Libra, Pisces, and Virgo. And that's literally my sun, moon, rising, and Venus. So it's been quite an interesting ride. Although I've been, well, there was a lot of energy just shifting yesterday, and I spent a lot of time just resting in meditation and allowing things to move. So I would love to hear how you all are doing. And I am feeling like I just wanted to open up and see whatever messages want to come through. But I am also feeling an inner union energy coming forward. I used to do an inner union reading where I did the seven chakras for the masculine and the seven chakras for the feminine. Let me know if you guys would be interested in me doing one of those. Let me know in the comments. I also have like an inner union reading session where we can do that for you individually, but I just haven't done one here on YouTube in quite some time and just wanted to see again, is that something you guys would like? So it just really helps. The idea behind it is to help really just support um, the energies so that you can look at the energies within your own internal union. And of course, there's the outer reflection within the connection if that aligns for you. But for now, as I'm speaking that, I just let's see what wants to come through. Just whatever would like to come through. Okay. This last night I was feeling these waves of sadness. And like I said, so much was processing. I wasn't sure if it was just my stuff shifting or collective. And this to me is actually feeling connected to the divine masculine collective and feeling this grieving energy. I'm going to read the rest of the cards I have on the table, but then I'm going to pull more on this because I sense that the masculines want to share more. And also, obviously, you can look at this for your internal union energies, regardless of how you identify. And then we have the Six of Pentacles and the Empress. And this really is feeling like a grieving for the past. It does feel like there's quite a bit of weight on the masculine collective. And yet there's also like this light starting to shine through. And it's really interesting because if I'm looking at these crows as, the swords, right? There's the nine, and there's all of this stuff that's sort of weighing on the subconscious. There's also like this light at the end of the tunnel. And it actually feels like the sadness is twofold. The sadness feels connected to the actual weight that's bearing down, and that's just getting too intense, too heavy to deal with. But then this light at the end of the tunnel is also bringing a different type of sadness, the type of sadness that feels like what could have been, that nostalgia of regret, feeling like, yeah, like there's a sadness for what is and a sadness for what could have been. But I also feel like just the energy that's coming through with that Six of Pentacles is that as these energies, as the what could have been strengthens, it feels like what it does is it starts to balance with the heaviness. So it's like if it's the light and the shadows, and the more light that comes in, actually some hope can start to restore. And then what I'm feeling is where the shadows can start to be processed because there's actually enough light to help counterbalance the heavy, deep, depressed sadness. There was a sadness and a depression that came in through the masculines on that last recorded session I did connected to the gifts of the masculine. And now, as I'm reading it in this energy, it feels like this is where even the masculines are starting to allow the gifts of the feminine to come in, the gifts of the connection, the gifts of their own energy, the gifts of their initiation, so that it can start to balance this heavy load that was being carried. This just feels like a weight of baggage. And again, here it is in the karmic energies starting to process, and it's allowing things to lift and reorganize and also materialize in the physical world. And how it's coming to me is actually facing the internal shadows allows the external world to start to be cleaned up and rebalanced. But my sense with this is that the masculines will have to face some uncomfortable experiences in order to receive those gifts. But any of you here with me who have walked this path, I'm sure you can attest that you've had to face your own discomforts in order to receive the gifts of embodiment into more and more of who you are. And I feel like, of course, it will be different for every person, but this is ultimately leading to the Empress energies, the sacred feminine embodied in physical form. And so, for this, as the masculines allow this, I say allow, but with the last message that came in for my members, there is like divine angelic assistance, divine higher energy coming in to support this process. And the way that feminine collective has been working so deeply on the inner union and focusing in that area, it's allowed the space for this to begin to process for the masculines, which will ultimately lead to the reharmonization of the energies with the feminine collective, the feminine ancestors, the feminine energies on earth, and the feminine balance within. Okay. So let's see what else wants to come through. I'm guided to go to the shaman dream, and immediately I opened up to repairing the veil forgiveness. And this feels like the message that wanted to come through. It feels that the masculines are going through a process that requires self forgiveness, right, for what could have been, but also self forgiveness for these weights that they have been carrying. And the self forgiveness leads to the forgiveness of the feminines as well, because wow, it's really hitting back to that session, um, the gifts of the masculine, because there was a point in the feminine system, in the feminine ancestral system, where the feminine actually like kicked out the masculine. And the feminine, many of the feminines have viewed it as the masculine running, but there was that mirror point of the feminine running and walling as well, right? That reflection point. And so this repairing the veil is allowing the deeper self-forgiveness will open up the gateway to forgiveness with the divine feminine. And this would be a message for the feminines here, depending on how you're identifying with this message. It could always be a two-way street if you want to look in both directions. Like, where can you forgive yourself? Where can you forgive the masculine? Right? And if this is resonating at all, you could even just sit and work with both sides, right? Where can I forgive? Where do I need forgiveness for myself? Where can I forgive others, feminine, masculine, in general, right? But they're coming through in this way of repairing the veil. And I feel like more wants to come with this. And I feel guided to go back to the traditional, or not traditional, the light years deck, which is my favorite deck, one of my favorites. So, okay, we have the Hermit coming out on repairing the veil. So, what I'm feeling with this is that it is a lot of work that's happening internally, but what I'm sensing that feels important is that as this happens internally, as the internal self-forgiveness strengthens, as that internal healing work solidifies a bit more and it starts to embody, it's like it'll come. What I'm seeing is like this hermit coming back down into the physical onto the steps. And that's like where the repairing the veil occurs, landing on the earth in like this process that we're talking about, right? Like, even look at the infinity loops, right? The loops happening as it's coming down, as it's reharmonizing into the material world, and ultimately supporting the reharmonization and the unity energy between the masculine and feminine. So, again, as above, so below, as within is without. So, however, this is resonating, even if it's simply just holding what I feel with some of you, I feel a warmth coming in around this. And I feel like where you've worked with your self forgiveness, where you've forgiven others, there's like a warmth and an acceptance and a compassion that's strengthening in your system around this. And I'm feeling more and more tempered energy and compassion for to allow the masculines to walk through this process, to allow the collective to walk through this process, even if it's not a divine masculine, but the people in your life, the family, the friends, the collective in general, allowing yourself to be in your strength and continue to focus on your stability and love and confidence, and holding compassion and accountability for others to work this process, because it's through going through this process, as many of you know, it's through facing the shadows. It's through allowing the grieving process. It's through being accountable for our actions and also allowing ourselves to reopen up to hope via forgiveness that allows us to embody into our Emperor, Empress energies. And so there's a deep compassion coming through from the feminine collective to just allow space and grace for the masculine collective to go through their deeper physical world transformational metamorphosis process, and understanding that working with the spiritual and the emotional energies is going to be a different process for the masculine, but also like a beautiful one in their own right. And we would never want to rob them of the gift of the transformation. So, patience, compassion, accountability, stability, space, and grace to just allow whoever to walk through their process in a way that allows them to truly embody it, right? Because if we push or we get frustrated or we pull, right, all that does is rush the process and slow down the embodiment. But when we can take a seat and step back and allow the compassion and again, the accountability to just be present in a stable, tempered manner. You don't even have to figure out what it is that the masculine needs. You don't need to even think about what they should do or shouldn't do or how they should do it or how they shouldn't do it. All you have to do is trust that their soul knows exactly what needs to be done, and you're gracious enough to give them the space to trust that they are intelligent enough to sort through this, which they are. Okay, my loves, they got this. This is where they build that other muscle, right? They have the physical material world muscle. This is where they build the heart muscle. In how they connect with emotion and spirit and source and energy in however they connect with that. Okay. So this feels like a really beautiful harmonization energy where the feminines have really come into deeper states of Empress sacred feminine energies or are very much in the process of that embodiment. And again, this is an energy that's been coming through for my members, but the softness and strength that is coming from that feminine essence is allowing, again, this physical world metamorphosis for the masculine, the external masculine, the internal masculine, however you are listening to these messages. Okay, my loves, I do want to round it out with one more message. And the other day, we pulled a true love card for members, and I want to do one here for you. I know these energies have been quite intense, but I've been very aware of this really beautiful, loving, magnetic, soft, beautiful energy that is also strong and solid and stable. And you can feel like where it's coming in as we're, again, sort of in this process of still clearing out what was. So let's see. Compatibility. Oh, beautiful. And immediately with this compatibility card, I think, well, for me right now, I don't know if they are hummingbirds or not, but they came through energetically to me as hummingbirds, which just brought that energy of the sweetness of life, the sweetness of compatibility. And immediately what's coming in is as you feel that compatibility within your own internal feminine and masculine energies, it just becomes that magnetic, fluid, flowing, harmonizing energy that magnetizes what is compatible to you and for you in the actual external world. As you become magnetic for yourself within, as you fall in love with yourself, it allows that external true love energy, that secure, stable, compatible essence to have the space to come forward with you. This is why internal union is so incredibly important, because internal union energies are about the acceptance of yourself, all of the parts of yourself, right? And if you have weaknesses, you're shoring those up and you're becoming stronger and you're facing your shadows and your griefs and allowing those to um, become strengths through your capacity to learn the lessons and evolve the version of who you were into who you are now. And you can allow more compatibility to come forward in your physical world existence by becoming compatible with yourself, my loves, right? So it's like, again, all of those things you're wanting to experience in your life, in your world, in your relationships. How are you providing that and embodying that for yourselves? Right? What is compatible with you and for you? Perhaps create a list of what you feel compatibility is for yourself, right? Okay, my loves, I'm going to leave it here. I am really feeling that this compatibility energy is also tying back to this energy of processing the old weights, allowing the new energy to come in, allowing the inner union to dance and align what's truly compatible. As you love yourself, right? The more you love yourself, the more you can love others. The way you treat yourself, or the way you want others to treat you, is how you treat yourself, and on, right? Do unto others as you would have done to you. All of those things in all of the directions, it builds love, it builds stability, it builds unity from within, which again will easily manifest what is aligned for you in your compatible internal union energies. All right, my loves, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.